they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Sorry, excuse me. Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I am Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Going to be talking all things UFC 246, all the key fights, breaking that down, and also breaking down the boxing fights. I know we did that already this week. I thought, I'm here. Why not talk some boxing as well? So I'll also talk a little bit, obviously, of the PBC on Fox card, Julian J. Rock Williams versus Jason Rosario, and Chris Gober versus Jezreel Corrales, and the ESPN Top Rank card as well at the end of the show. But in the first half of the show, we're going to break down UFC 246, Conor McGregor versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone going down the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on UFC pay-per-view. I'm going to break down that and some of the key fights on that undercard. A lot to get to on this card. I apologize for not getting a show out to you guys earlier in the week breaking down this card. I tried getting Anthony Walker, friend of the show, contributor to the show, and usually when I talk MMA, he comes on, but he was busy this week. I had a lot of tech issues this week, so it just never lined up to get Anthony on the show to do a preview show for UFC 246. I thought, hey, I'm bored right now. Prelims are about to start in about 20 minutes for the PBC card on Fox. I think 4 p.m. is when prelims start for the Top Rank card. I think UFC Fight Pass prelims start also maybe in 20 minutes or an hour. I know the ESPN prelims start at 5 p.m. But regardless, a lot to get to on today's show and before the fights even start, and probably the fights will be starting as we are doing the show. Shout out to Rob Iman Santiago in the chat. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Saturday before the fights. Hope everyone's being safe out there. But let's get to this UFC 246 card, the return of Conor McGregor. When me and Ant, and go check out, I think this video is in our featured video section at the very top of our YouTube page. When the news broke and me and Anthony sat down and broke the topic, I think we mentioned that this is a very smart matchup for Conor McGregor. It's still a top 15 player in 170 or 155, let's be honest, welterweight or lightweight, for being completely honest here. And on top of it, in an age where guys don't get soft touches, this is probably the only soft touch Conor's gonna get. So it made sense. The layoff, the loss. If you table the sexual assault allegations and the investigations, if you table that, this matchup makes perfect sense. It's the right matchup to make for Conor McGregor and Donald Cerrone in a way, even though he's getting criminally underpaid in this matchup. This fight is perfect in my opinion in a lot of different ways, and still being a credible, really good fight that has some parity to it, that has a dynamic to it, that leads to different predictions. I could definitely see a Cowboy Cerrone prediction for a variety of reasons, to be quite honest. So I have no issue with this. I am also curious about what this does in terms of business perspective. I'm not going to touch on this a lot, but the fact that this is the first Conor McGregor fight, a guy that's never done under 1 million pay-per-view buys when he's been a headliner. Think about that. Okay, you can name any pay-per-view star in history. Okay, Mike Tyson, Pacquiao, Mayweather, any of them. Oscar De La Hoya, any of them. Okay, there's headliners where they've been a headliner for pay-per-view and done below 1 million. It's not uncommon. For McGregor, he has never done that. And this is a new era, a new paradigm of pay-per-view for the UFC on ESPN+. I mean, even Dana White in a Submission Radio interview, shout out to the homies Dennis and Casper over there in Vegas doing some work. Dana White said, this might get us back to the old pay-per-view numbers. Curious to see the business model and how it works for a Conor McGregor fight as a new business model, as a new paradigm. But tabling that, let's get to the fight itself. Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone. I feel like it's a pretty easy fight to understand and dissect, even though there's parity to it, right? Conor McGregor is one of the best starters in all of MMA history. It's completely within the realm of possibility and probability, most likely, that he knocks out Donald Cerrone within the first 2 rounds. He's an incredibly adept starter. His accuracy and timing is usually on point, really fast compared to other guys, Donald Cerrone is a notorious slow starter. So you have a natural dynamic and style matchup where it leans from a momentum perspective, from an IQ perspective, maybe not IQ, from a momentum perspective, from a stylistic perspective, towards Conor McGregor. However, if Donald Cerrone can get out of that first 2.5 rounds, 3 rounds, he has the gas tank to outdo Conor McGregor, without a doubt. And secondly, he obviously is the better grappler, better wrestler in every department. Like, if you sort of try to dissect what grappling is, Donald Cerrone is better in every single facet of that game. And it's not even questionable. Donald Cerrone has an insane amount of submissions in the UFC and MMA as a whole. I wish Jay Petrie was on the show so he can give out the stats for that. But, I mean, Donald Cerrone is a submission guy more so than a knockout guy. Yes, he does hurt guys and then tie them up and submit them, but that's because he is a adept grappler, and we've seen that Conor McGregor can get tagged and scramble and lose that scramble and get tapped, obviously in the first Nate Diaz fight. I think there's a likely possibility that we see that sort of fight again, where Conor McGregor has a great start, Donald Cerrone survives it, and then he hurts him and submits him in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. That is 100% possible here. I am not going to lean that way, though. I'm going to lean towards the first sort of theory here, that Conor McGregor is going to knock out Donald Cerrone in the first 2 rounds. I think Cerrone is a guy that, him being a slow starter was fine when he was in his late 20s and early 30s. He's now approaching 40. And his athleticism is noticeably slipping. And Conor McGregor, while a guy that has a long layoff, I mean, the amount of red flags for Conor McGregor is too much to even be talked about here, let's be honest. But he is still a great athlete in theory. And on top of it, he is a guy that, in a pure striking perspective, I see him tagging Cerrone a lot. Cerrone is going to have to keep this fight at distance and use a lot of kicks. But if it gets within the mid-range, Conor's going to start tagging him with that left hand. And I just see Donald Cerrone getting hurt. Darren Till's a massive hitter, but he's also not nearly as good of a striker as Conor McGregor. Not nearly as good of a boxer as Conor McGregor. Like, that's just without a doubt. And Darren Till did sort of what I think Conor McGregor's going to do, to be quite honest. I think that was a really good barometer of how this fight will look, unfortunately. Even though Donald Cerrone, on paper, has avenues of victory. He absolutely does. I just, to be honest, don't really see those avenues of victory happening. to be honest. Leave a chat down below, guys. I want to know everyone's thoughts on this. I'm going to be reading the chat a lot more on this show just because it's me going solo dolo. Rob Iman saying if Cowboy loses, I think he calls it a career. I kind of agree. It's unfortunate, though, if he does call it a career on this fight. His last payday's $200,000 to show, $200,000 to win. So criminal. He is the longest tenured fighter in UFC history. He has the most fights in UFC history. He's fighting the biggest star in UFC history. And he's getting a real pedestrian check for a headliner, to be honest. And the way he responded to the alleged, Conor McGregor making $80 million, which is just not true, makes me think he's not getting a lot of back-end money as well. Really sad for Cowboy that, being a company man doesn't always work out. Being a bootlicker doesn't always work out for you when it comes to capitalism and corporations. What else we have here? Seven, saying I don't think Conor will fare well in this fight. It's possible that you're absolutely right, Seven, that Conor maybe, let's say he has a good first round, but that second round, he's a little bit too bulky. He starts gassing a little bit quicker than thought, and Don Cerrone starts tagging him, old manning him a bit. And then, maybe starts, kicking him to the leg, starts sort of wearing him down with body kicks, maybe goes for a takedown. I could absolutely see this fight going bad for Conor really fast, but I don't think that happens. Could happen. I don't think it happens, though. Ivan Diaz saying, what up, though, MCR? What up, Ivan? Hope everything's good with you, man. Santiago saying, just bought my movie tickets for Wilder Fury 2 because fucking paying $25 for the pay-per-view. I go watch it on a big screen for $20. I understand. Rob, main reason for Cerrone to retire is his child. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Dad Cerrone is a real thing. AOBZ, what's Cowboys' purse? Less than $1 million? Yes, $200,000 to show, $200,000 to win. So disclose. If he beats Conor McGregor, the most he can make in disclosed purse is $400,000. I'm in $500,000. Again. And it has the homie Anderson would say.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
It's normal. It's normal, guys. Come on, it's normal. Moving on, though, to the co-main event. I'll drop in and read some of you guys' chats and comments down below in the live chat as I go on. Holly Holm fighting Raquel Pennington. I mean, this is a fight where Holly Holm is... this is the perfect matchup for her. Raquel Pennington's a tough fighter, but she is quite basic in overall skill set, and Holly Holm should be able to circle around her all night, land shots all night, and win a at least easy 3-round decision. At least an easy 3-round decision, if not a late stoppage. Okay, I go see a head kick, knockout, and Holly Holm win this fight. Easy, without a doubt. Raquel Pennington eats shots for a living. She is a great gatekeeper. And while Holly Holm is definitely one of those fighters that has been up and down as of late, she is still a notch above Raquel Pennington. Right? I don't think this should be shocking. Now, if Raquel Pennington just dogs her and just bullies Holly Holm, that would be a massive sign that Holly Holm is probably done, and she needs to think about retiring. Because there is no way Raquel Pennington should win this fight. No way. There's no way you logically argue she wins the fight on paper. I don't see it. Love to hear Rob's Iman's thoughts though on this fight as well. I know he's a good supporter of Anthony Walker back when he was on Share Dog, so I know he's a hardcore fan of MMA. But I just don't think Pennington has much of a path to victory here, other than just being tough and bullying Holly Holm, which I just don't see her doing. She doesn't have the footwork to do that. She doesn't have the hand speed to do that. She doesn't have the combinations to do that. She doesn't have really any of the things that I wish she would have to be able to, bully Holly Holm. I just don't see that matchup here at all. Alexei Oleinik versus Maurice Green. Fun little heavyweight scrap here. Either it's a submission by Alexei Oleinik, or it's a knockout for Maurice Green, right? I mean, I really have not a lot of thoughts on this fight. I'll be honest. Ode Osborne versus Brian Keller. I have really no thoughts about that one. Anthony Pettis versus Diego Fiera. This should be a really, really tough fight for Anthony Pettis because and also sort of a crossroads fight. Diego Ferreira is a guy that is mean, brutal, and one of those guys that's, I think, really rapidly progressing in terms of talent. And Anthony Pettis has been degressing for some time, if we're being honest here. Again, major crossroads fight for Anthony Pettis. I'm probably going to pick Diego Ferreira here in a slight decision in a really fun back-and-forth fight, but I think it's going to be more of Anthony Pettis just slipping, to be honest. And kind of coming back from a fight with Diaz a little bit too soon, in my opinion. To be honest, I think he should take it. He should take like a year or two off and just relax. If not, just retire. Santiago saying, "No, Matt, did you see the Showbox co-main knockout?" No, I saw the Ergashev body shot KO. I did not see the co-main event. What was the co-main event? Oh, was that the co-main event? I'm trying to remember now. No, Shishkin was in the main event, right? I forget. Santiago, remind me. I just saw the Ergashev knockout. That's the only fight I saw from last night's Showbox card. Macy Barber versus Roxanne Modafferi. And Macy Barber should just bully her. Like, this is sort of the inverse of Raquel Painter and Holly Holm. Modafferi is a better grappler in terms of just submission artist than Macy Barber, but Barber is just a kind of an athletic freak to a degree, and she should just bully Modafferi significantly in this fight. Next fight, a fight that I love, Andre Fili versus Sadiq Youssef. Sadiq Youssef should win this fight. I'm not going to say easy, but in a really fun, exciting fashion and score a big knockout. Andre Fili, a guy that is good, but he's always kind of just been decent, kind of been always a perennial top 20, 25-ish guy. And Sadiq Youssef is really talented. Sadiq Youssef is probably going to win a belt at some point in his life. That's sort of my prediction there. I've only seen just raw, amazing talent from him. And on top of it, each fight, he has been sort of chipping away to fine-tune that talent as well. That boxing of his is just superb. And plus, again, I think he's really adding a lot of elements to his game that a guy like Andre Fili, even though being a well-rounded fighter, he's not going to have, I think, enough power, enough sort of gas in the tank from a career perspective to really beat a rising guy like Sadiq Youssef. Also, just a brief mention, Timmy Elliott versus Askavov. That should be a fun fight. Kevin Gastelum's twin look-alike doppelganger, Nazareth Hapasrat, fighting Drew Dober. And then the other fights, I really don't know. I know Justin Ledet, but that's about it. Alexa Kemmerer, undefeated fighter. That's about it. Moving on to boxing, because this is just going to be a quick show, guys. And then obviously I'll be back later tonight to break down all the fights in our post-fight show. But Julian Williams versus Jason Rosario, just some brief thoughts about this card, and then obviously the Elio Alvarez-Michael Seals fight. And again, I'll get to some of you guys' comments in the chat. Santiago was saying Triskin was the main event. Damn, he was? Why? Why did they make him the main event? But Ergashev, yeah, that was a good body shot knockout. Really good body shot knockout. But Williams, Rosario. Rosario's a guy that, like, he has some pop. He's a big guy for the division. He's strong for the division. He could be able to, like, rough up Williams at times, but, excuse me, you're talking about a really undisciplined, unrefined sort of boxer puncher in Jason Rosario, compared to a guy in Julian Williams who has really been breaking his ceilings in terms of athletic ability, in terms of skill set in his last couple fights. So I don't see how Rosario has any chance of victory in this PBC main event, I'll be honest. And I'll be really honest here. The whole slate of fights here coming up for boxing in the first quarter are really rough. There's only a couple fights and maybe like one or two cards that stick out to me as, oh, those are really good cards. The rest are, dodgy at best. And obviously the co-main event is, if you're an MMA fan out there, hit record on Fox, for PBC on Fox, just to see this fight, okay? I'm telling you. Chris Colbert versus Jezreel Corrales. This fight could be one of those fights where if Chris Colbert wins, we need to talk about him with the likes of Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Virgil Ortiz, Shakur Stevenson. Pick a prospect. He needs to be mentioned with all of them, if not already at this point. But if he beats Jezreel Corrales, former champion, huge feather in his cap, a massive feather in his cap. And if he does so convincingly, and maybe even finishes him, I don't expect that due to his style. But if he just does it in dominating fashion and convincing fashion, huge feather in his cap, and a sign that Chris Colbert is ready to fight for a world title against guys like Miguel Berchelt, Tevin Farmer, and others. And also a sign that, again, he needs to be mentioned with all these other prospects that get shine. And the fact that he doesn't already is a huge red flag for me, in my opinion, for like boxing media and fans. Like, you guys need to be on board and on this train for Chris Colbert. And when he beats Jezreel Corrales tonight, it's going to be really apparent that why you guys need to be watching him. What other fights on the card that I want to talk about? That's about it. Ricky Lopez on the card, Kyron Davis on the card, Joey Spencer, Vito Minicki, sort of prospects to pay attention to. They were going to be starting up in about 4 minutes, so I'm going to run through this thing and then get out of here, guys. Edler Alvarez versus Michael Seals on ESPN at the same time as the UFC pay-per-view card. So if you missed this one, it's fine. But this main event against Edler Alvarez and Michael Seals is a really fun fight. Michael Seals is an older guy, started late, but a really fun, heavy hitter in the division. Alvarez coming off a loss in a layoff. I mean, Alvarez should win this one. I mean, he has great wins in the division against a lot of top 10, top 15 names. That win again, the first fight against Sergey Kovalev was an eye-opener, to say the least, in terms of how talented he is. But that loss in the rematch was rough. That was one of those fights and rematches where it makes you rethink how good a fighter is. That's how dominant Kovalev was in the rematch, getting revenge. And if he comes out here and just obliterates Michael Seals and everything's back on board for Edler Alvarez, he could fight Vajdic, Beterbiev, Bivol, and beat them all. And that's not out of the question anymore. But he needs to really show out tonight. Let's be honest here, guys. Also, Felix Verdejo on the card, Jonathan Guzman, and Christopher Diaz. But, guys, that's going to be it for today's little quick pre-fight show. I know it was a quick one. I know. But I'll be back later tonight, probably about 10 p.m., whenever the fight's over. So whenever the last fight is over, I will be live on YouTube and taking your calls. Blog Talk is down right now, so Skype Mixed Combat Radio. Add me so you guys can call in later tonight to give your thoughts and your immediate reactions to the fights. PBC on Fox starts in 2 minutes. I think UFC has already started as well. And the ESPN Top Rank card also starts in about 30 minutes. So, guys, a lot of fights going to be happening. I'm going to have 3 screens up here trying to watch them all at the same time. Join me in the chat for the next show, for the post-fight show. Even though the show's not started, just join me in the chat. We can talk about the fights and, chit-chat about boxing and MMA. But guys, find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the channel in any financial way. Be back in about 6 hours. Peace.